Git is a form of version control for anybody that have experience with it. And it's a very, what would I call it now? It's built on top of the basic of the fact that there are some issue we have in computing. And one of the issues we have in computing is that when you're working on a large project, that you have collaboration across multiple people contributing to the same source code. We discover it's very difficult to effectively track who did what and to even be able to successfully match different what we're calling different modification into one single code base to deploy to production. And generally, Git is just a terminology because I know everybody said Git, but the real solution is what we call version control. And Git was just implement something for version control. And Git is built on top of, before we have Git, we have what we call SVC. That is, I know for people that are old, that have been doing computing for quite some time, since 2006, 2007, we knew that SVC is the first thing we had. I think Git came in around 2010, I can't remember. So it was SVC we previously have. And basically, it's just providing a protocol on how 2-3 people can collaborate on a single system and then be able to merge the collaboration work into a branch for Git Operation or for operational needs. And to give a little bit background to how this system became, we like to go into a much more easy things to understand, because I believe that people on this call today already have experience with Git. So, but I will just give a little bit of background, then we move into the operation. So let's start with a very simple basic. The first is what we call the catalog system that is implemented in libraries. Anybody that ever get a book from the library before, we knew that you go to a section in the library and you pick this, something like a catalog, and that catalog, they tell you this book is located in so and so section and so building. And all you do is you follow that direction to actually pick the book. And then when you log the book out at the receptionist, when you say, okay, this is the book I'm picking, the librarian is going to log it out of their system and say, okay, this book is no longer available. Do the catalog, because the catalog will be fixed to you for the period of when you check out the book. Then you check out the book in. Now, it is the same principle. The whole version control system was built on top. The whole version control system was built on top, ability to be able to check in and check out your source code, and for you to maintain what we call in library, I forgot what we call it in library, so that is for you to be able to maintain a clean pipeline of information about what is checking and check out. That is the basic for Git. It just allows you to be able to track changes in file over time, be able to revert changes to the previous version, and then collaborate on codes that you are working on with your team members, so that 2, 3, 4, 5 people can collaborate together. And that is what Git is all about. And is my voice clear to everybody?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And so that is it in short form. And okay, so I want to, it goes into what we call now the operation side of it. So, and I want to ask a question. Do anyone or every one of you have access to your laptop? Hello?
Yes, please.
Okay. And do you have Git installed on that laptop?
No.
What kind of laptop? Is it Windows? Is it, what kind of laptop is it?
It's a window PC.
Okay, so who else minus Gambo, who else doesn't have access to their laptop or does not have Git installed on their laptop? Okay. All right. So because
I joined on my phone. My laptop is off.
Oh, you joined the call on your phone. So this is the problem. This is an operational call. I mean, in the sense that it's hands-on. Like we have to, let me say, get our hand dirty. Because I will need to do show. And okay, so you have Git on your system. And okay. So, but do you guys know how to go about installing Git? Let me just ask that first, upfront, so that we can jump setup stage of the call.
I'm a novice.
Okay, do you have your laptop with you?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So is it a Windows laptop?
Yes. It's a Windows.
Okay. All right. So we will need to I will need to, because I personally I'm using a MacBook myself, so I do not have but let me just share my screen and then we work it from there. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Do you know what we call WSL? What Windows version do you have? Hello?
Windows 10. Windows 10.
Windows 10. There is WSL on Windows 10. So about then it's going to be very difficult because it's the old WSL. Okay, so we need to find a way of installing Git on your system, and because the first set of this call is to make sure everybody have Git installed on their system. So, and there's something called WSL for Windows. And it's just, what do you say? So, are you guys comfortable with command line before I go around typing commands? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
With you, sir.
Okay, so if you are comfortable with command line, so you go to PowerShell or your laptop, Windows laptop, and then type in WSL install. This is going to install WSL. Why I'm going this route is because there is a way of installing Git on Windows. You understand? So, and you can, but then it won't be able to. That approach will not work for this section because I will be doing a lot of command line operation because there is another way of using source tree for Git, but I don't like it. I don't use it. So you can download source tree. I don't have window.
Maybe we should just go with what you do.
Right? Yeah. What I do is command line. So that's why I said you should install WSL, and so that all of us can be in sync together. Okay. So if you install WSL, then let me know when you are installing. I'll continue the training.
Okay? Do you have a link for them?
For the WSL install, this is the link for the WSL install. I will share it with the team. Hello? I will share the link with the team now. Okay, so let me just share it on this page. So I don't know, I think I can share on this page. So that is for installing WSL. And then when you install WSL, you just run, so if it says you are familiar with Linux, then after installing WSL, I'm typing it for you guys on the group page. Okay. So after you install WSL, then you just type in sudo apt install Git. You understand? So you can pick Ubuntu or you can pick any OS. I use Ubuntu, but which is going to be the default. If you use WSL install, it will be Ubuntu. that will be automatically installed on your system. And then that will open a terminal, and then you can install your Git on the terminal. I can provide a walkthrough tutorial on how to manage WSL. And for people that are not comfortable with command line, another tool is a source tree. If you are not comfortable with command line, the other tool is source tree. And this you can install on your Windows system. You don't need any solution. You don't need any extension to use source tree. So back to the core. So everybody have access to GitHub. I set up a project on GitHub for this core. I'm looking for the projects. Do everybody have access to GitHub, like have an account on GitHub?
Yes, please.
I've done that. Sorry.
What's on my GitHub?
Sure. Where is the GitHub project? Sorry, I have to stop sharing. I have to, because those are private projects. It shouldn't be in public domain. Okay, so I will start sharing again. Let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, so now I have this project. It's a public project. You can clone it. Let me send you the address. So now everybody understand the concept of cloning. Am I right? Git clone. Do you guys understand what Git clone meant?
No, please, help us explain.
Okay. All right. So so let's see. So Git clone, basically, let me start with the concept before we even go into all these branches and how to work with this repository and stuff. So let me just copy the repository into the team page. And this is what we are going to be working with throughout the whole project. Throughout the whole sessions. And let me explain. I think I've given a basic explanation of where we get the concept, or why we, as a software development community, decided that we need to run version control. Is so that we can do collaboration, so that we can do versioning, so that we can know who modify what, actually. And then so that we can do release management. For anybody of you that works in a standard company, we have experienced things like what we call production release meeting, whereby they call a meeting and say, okay, we want to make a production release. And we couldn't do any of this in the olden days. We do this in the olden days, but we do it very weirdly. We have a meeting, and then we put the code we want to take to production, we put it in a zip file. And then we deploy it in one environment somewhere, and then we sit and say, okay, that is the zip file we want to deploy. That's the way we do it in the olden days. And it was a very chaotic deployment, because when you have a bug in production, then it becomes very difficult to roll back. And with Git versioning, with Git control, with Git versioning and Git management, rolling back a code to a previous version, make it easier. And we could create actually a release and say, okay, we are creating a release for so date, and we test the release and make sure that the release is functional before we release it. So that is the basic concept of Git. But one thing you have to understand is we have to keep this code somewhere. And where do we keep it? Hello? Hello? Yeah. So let me show you the concept so that you understand. So the first thing you have to understand is that for us to have a Git, we have to have a repository. And if we do not have a repository, then we cannot have a Git. We can't do all this work. We need a place to put it. So your repository, in the concept relationship to the library, the definition is just your catalog. That your catalog container when you enter a library is where your cabinet, your file cabinet in the house, where you put all your file. That is the repository. And the repository basically is just that, a repo to hold the information. Now, let me explain something that a lot of people might find confusing. Git is different from GitHub. I know that because GitHub is a very popular solution, a lot of beginners tend to confuse them together. They are not. GitHub is a platform where people go through and they host their code. Git, on the other end, is a protocol. If I'm speaking too fast or if I'm not clear enough, please, can you guys just like throw me back and tell so that I can explain myself again? So GitHub is a platform, just like Bitbucket is a platform, just like GitLab is a platform, just like Azure DevOps is a platform. These are just Azure DevOps Repository is a platform, or code commits. What they call their code something in AWS. These are just platforms that are built on top of Git. But see, version control is the whole concept. And in version control, as I said, we have SVC. We still have SVC also. People, if you go to NASA or you go to all these old agencies that really changes their protocols, you will still see version controls there. But virtually everybody uses Git now as a protocol. Now, the repository is going to have to stay somewhere, your Git repository. So in this scenario, we use GitHub as a repository. But you could use Bitbucket as a repository, or you could use GitLab as a repository, or you could use any repository. But there is one unifying feature for all of them. And that unifying feature is that whatever platform you have, you can run your Git command on them. Because as I said, Git is the protocol itself. It's not a platform. Am I clear enough?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good.
Yes.
So the repository is where you create an account. Like in this situation now, this is a GitHub account. This is my own GitHub account. And you create an account in GitHub, and then you create a repository. Now, see, this is the way we do it, but this is a misconception. You can actually create a Git repository from your own local system. You do not need GitHub. And that is what I want to show you. As I said, hope you guys are very comfortable with command line, because I will be doing a lot of command. God, I mean, this is bothering me. I need to drag it somewhere. I hate this. Can't drag it. Sorry, I'm having some issue with Zoom. But let's just go ahead. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So most of the command I will type initially are going to be pure Linux commands, so you don't need to bother about them. You understand? So we are going to create a Git command locally. I mean Git repository locally. So what I'm going for is that you don't need either GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket to create a Git repository. You can create it locally yourself. So let's call it testing repository into testing, and then type in Git init. Git init is going to make this folder a repository. Okay, LSIPAL. Hopefully you guys can check this video later and really see what I'm doing, because some of this may be Linux command, and if you are not familiar with Linux, you might not know. Now I just do Git init, and I turn this folder, I turn it to a Git repository. And how do you know? Because let me remove it. rm ref.git. Now we don't have it again. See, if you do ls here, you see there is no Git reference. If you do Git status in this folder, it will tell you, I don't have an idea what you are doing. Nothing. Not a Git repository. So if you now go back and say Git init again, just like I typed it the other time, Git init, this turn this to a Git repository. So you do not need GitHub GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket to have a Git repository. You can have it on your local system. But if you have it on your local system, then there will be a conversation of collaboration. How do people collaborate with you? And that is where all this GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket comes into play. They offer opportunity for you to push whatever you do here to the repository that they hosted for you. So third parties, your colleagues, can actually collaborate on the same project with you. So, and if you now do Git status on this store, it tell you, yeah, you are now this is a Git status. This is now a Git repository. Then we could do, sorry for, I'm using a lot of Linux commands, so apologies ahead. And get to try my best. Okay. And sorry, you don't need to know this command. This is just doc.txt. So this create a Git file, and if you type in Git status, this create a file, not a Git file. Sorry, this create a normal file. If you type in Git status, it show you that now in this repository that you have not pushed anywhere, you on your local system, you now have a file called doc.txt, and it asks you, do you want to add this file to the record? Now, do you guys understand the concept of Git repository now? Hello?
So understand.
Okay, so if it's not clear, just ask me any question. I can walk back, we can roll back, you understand? So do you guys understand why I want a Linux environment to do this teaching? Because of the fact that it is easier to teach like this than to teach it from Windows. Because in Windows, yeah, I don't think you can do it too in WSL, but not in normal Windows. So is anything not clear? Should I need to re-explain any part of this conversation of the Git repository? Hello?
I think we are good for now.
Okay.
For me,
all right.
Right.
For you, okay. So this is GitHub. I mean, this is concept of creating an empty repository in your system. But when you create a repository in your system, and then you have file, I've created the file. Let's create another file, and let's call it .unf. Let's call it .unf, and let's call it, don't let's call it doc. Let's call it, I don't know, .unf, and then let's just put, you can forget that I'm not doing all this in command line. So this create another file, and then let's see Git status, and it show the file, and then Git add. Now, how do Git track? So we are going to another section of this work, and that is how do Git actually track? How do Git know that you have a new file that's for comment? And this is where I'm working toward now. So, and hello? Hello, Angela, sorry, your call is breaking, and yeah, can you just help us bridge a bit? Okay, thanks. So, how do Git become aware of your changes? That it needs to put it into its tracking record. I will go back to the explanation of the file cabinet that we have, or of the catalog system that we have in the library. Now, if a new set of books are dropped in the library, let's say they drop a new set of fictional stories in the library, and the librarians get the books. Nobody can check out that new set of books that are just dropped into the library, and nobody can check it out because nobody knows where they are, because they are not in the catalog that the librarian check, and that you check to see, oh, do they have Stephen King's book novels, or do they have I don't know, Tom Clancy, any Tom Clancy, because there is no catalog, so you can't check it out. You understand? And because you can't check it out until the librarian catalog it. That means he set up a catalog for the new book and add it to the catalog system so that you can check it out. And that is the same problem with Git. So I could have 1,000 files in this project, and none of those files will be added to Git until I tell Git add this file, and which is what I'm going to do. Git add them list, and then doc.txt, and this is it, and then Git we add these two files to list. Now, if you don't do Git status, Git will not tell you, okay, now I have 2 new files. Remember the catalog system. If the librarian did not catalog it, nobody can check out the book. And it's the same problem with Git. if you did not tell Git these files exist, then Git does not know this file exists. And it's until you tell it, that's when Git will say, oh, I know this file exists. Now, you could remove a file from Git. And the command for removing is git rm, and you say them list file. And if you do this, it's git rm, I think cage to on stage. Sorry, it's cage. Sorry. So there is a command called I've been caged. Okay. Now, then when you do git status, it will tell you that you have an on-track file. Just like when the librarian cataloged the system and then decided that this book is not meant for this section, for example. Let's say it's a children's section. And then in the children's section, you're having a book written by Bowell or any of these other romantic novels, because they are not allowed in the children's section, and then it will remove it from it. It won't put it in the children's section. It will remove it from the catalog for the children's section. And this is what we just did. Git rm, cage, and the file name, and then you remove it. Do you guys understand the concept of how to add a file to Git, how to remove a file from Git now? Hello? So it's the same concept for adding a folder to Git. So let's make a folder. Let's say mkdir. We are inside the folder. Let's say mkdir. We're testing, let's say assignment. And then sorry if I'm wrong with that. Assignment. So let's just call it something not too grammatically incorrect. Let's say SRC. And then let's say we seed into SRC. And then let's just create a node file. Let's say touch node dot js. And let's just leave it like that. It doesn't have to have anything in it, just not empty folder. So let's say git status. Now we see have the other down last.conf not tracked. So we say git add src star, and this is the way you add a folder, and you add all the content of the folder at the same time. See what I did? So git src is a folder. Now it has a content in it. I want to add the folder and its content to git tracking. So you put star, means that give the src slash every other thing with that after it, add it, and then when you do git status, you see that you now have, you have this src node.js, and you have Dublin track now. Then git add, then these are set. Now, is this clear to everybody? Do I need to explain anything about how to create a repository, empty repository within your system, or how to remove it?
Okay.
Hello? Okay, all right. Now, if you do git branch, which is another command in Git, you see, we did so many stuff, and none of this stuff exists in any branch. None of this stuff exists in any branch. And how do we create a branch for this? So say git branch -m main. So this is going to create a branch. Do you guys understand what I try to do? So let's go back to this explanation. I will go back to the library system. Are you guys familiar with the library system before I keep using it as an example and it's just not clear to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's go back to the library system. So we have children section, we have adult section, we have Roman section, we have geography sections and all those kind of things. Now, then we have general section in the library. So when you enter the library, you see this huge cabinet. I don't know, I went to AU, so in AU, we have this huge cabinet in the Ezekiel library. And then you have sub cabinets that basically you go to, and there are sub. Now, when you go to the primary cabinet, you understand, and you say, oh, I'm looking for a book about children, for example. and you're lazy, you don't want to go to the children section to find if the library actually had the book. So you stay down in the main cabinet, the main catalog section, and just go to the student section, the main catalog, and just check it and say, okay, they have it. Let's say the book starts with M, right? They have it, and then you can take it to the children section and go and pick the book. Now, in the same concept with Git, that main catalog, because you cannot just, in Git, you need a main branch, and then you need different other branches. I will still work next week. I will still walk you guys through the concept of branching. What we call Git Ops actually said, or the branching strategy for Git. But for now, we are going to focus on just Git operation. So you need a main branch that is going to be like, what will I call it now? That is going to be the primary tracker for every other individual branch in Git, in your repository. And generally we call the main branch, generally we call it either main or masters. Yeah, some people wake up in 2018 and then decide that we should not call it masters again. We should call it main because master is too, I don't know, they have a weird reason for saying we should stop using masters and slave. We call it masters and slave before, but now it's just main, we call it. So, and your main branch is actually the branch that I'll call it like your single source of truth. Meaning that when you do every other thing in any other branches, then you come to your main branch and merge to your main branch. I will still explain the concept of merge. And this is where the library explanation is not going to be useful because we don't have it in library. So now I just created a branch, and if you check the branch, Git status to show you the name of the branch name. See, he said on branch main. You have added you have stated all these changes, and now you need to commit it. Now I will now go to the next concept of Git, which we call Git commit. Now, Git commit is when all these documents that you have, or when you take the new book and you start slotting them into, let's say, fictional crime and fiction novels, A, B, C, D, E, F. What do they call his name? Romance novel, A, B, C, D, E, F. And you start slotting all these cards into their different sections in the library. And that is what we got Git commit, because immediately you section them, you add them to that section, they become part of that section. And then we could now check Git commit. Now, a lot of people have a different opinion. Generally, there is a command called -A, -M. I don't use this command because I don't believe you should add all your content into the repository. You should specify the content you want to add into repository. It's the best practice. This is best practice. So in this scenario, I'm going to remove -A because I've already done Git add, because -A means Git commit add, -M means message. Now you have to give your Git, you have to give it a message. And in this scenario, we can give it a message, you can call it local commit file. You can give this message and now everything is commit. Now if you do Git status, now you see nothing to commit on branch main. Do you guys understand what we use commit to do? Am I speaking too fast?
Yeah, we understand.
Okay, but this is where this analogy from your local system ends. Because on your local system, you do not have access to a public repository. All you can do is commit it. And that is where it ends. But if you need to do things like more than this, that means you need to push it to a remote repository and do all those kind of things, that is a different concept. And I'm going to walk you through it UI-wise. And then I'll go back to my previous question, which is very important. Do you guys have access to GitHub? Or do you have an account on GitHub?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And okay, all right, good. So we can go through this example together. And This is my own GitHub repository. I have so many projects on it. And then you open your GitHub, you go to your repository, and then you create new repository. Okay? And then in this new repository, give me a name. You can call it Ford Nuts. You can call it anything you want to call it. And I will explain the UI. It's not a big deal. It's not like, it's not cast in iron. I will explain the UI one by one. And you give it a name. There is something called a template, which I'm going to walk you through one of these days, which whether today or tomorrow, I'm going to walk you through it. I mean, next week, I'll walk you through how to use a template to actually create a GitHub project. So we call it Ford Nuts. It can be public or it can be private. If it is public, it means that anyone can see it. If it is private, it means you are the only one that can see it, and the people you invite to collaborate with you. Then you could add an readme to it. You could tell it to add a git ignore, and then you could choose a license if it's a public repository. So you could say, okay, this project is this license, Mozilla or whatever license. You understand? And then you could create a repository. So I'm creating a public repository. Are you guys able to follow this as I'm doing it? Yes. Okay. So now we create a repository, and there are two approaches we can go about in this repository. Remember the previous project we did? Now let's complete the project by doing this. By setting up a remote repository. We have done everything in this project, but we have not set up a remote repository. So let's say git add a remote repository. You understand? Then the next command is git push. And I don't use that, but yes, let's follow their instruction. So git push is okay. So there's no oh yeah, existing content. Okay. Then let's create git branch -m, and let's call it main, which we already have. Now we have the main in this history. Then now let's push the main is no. Oh, sorry. Git push. That was my mistake. Sorry. So you are supposed to specify origin as there is nothing in that other place before. So now we push, and then we have a content now. Are you guys able to follow what I just did?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand the concept of Git commit now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you guys have experience with this before now? Because so that it won't be like, oh, I already know how to do this before. If you do, we can move ahead to something else faster than this. I mean, more, it needs to be complex than this. Do you understand how to do git push, git pull, all those things before? Hello?
Probably not everybody. Some might have experienced it before.
Okay.
So I think we can just continue with the way you're taking it.
Okay. So git remote add is a command for adding a remote repository to Git. So remember, let's use that explanation. Okay, let's try and use the library, the catalog explanation. Might work. I don't know if it makes sense, but let's try and let's continue using it. And Git remote add origin is like when you specify that, okay, all this book belongs to the children section, for example, or all this book belongs to the geography section in the library. That is the way Git remote add works. So now we put all these books in the library section on the computer, and so that people that want to use the computer to check the catalog for the library, like if we have this book in the library, can go online and check it. I don't think that's a very good explanation. I'm looking for the best explanation to use. Git remote add is basically telling that this local repository we create, we want it to have a remote reference. And that remote reference is the one we created on GitHub. Now, you can do the same command with Bitbucket, with GitLab, with any Git repository, any Git provider, it will work. That's why I said Git is a protocol. And the Git push command is to just push the repository to the remote, to push your code to the remote repository. Okay? So because that is it in a very short form. And I'm going to ask again, are you guys able to perform this activity I just performed on your local system? For people that have Git on their local system.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that is Git in a nutshell. And you could check a lot of things in Git and just 1 minute. Then there are other things in Git so that you can identify yourself. One other thing I've missed is Git config. And then this is just like, this information goes into your file to say, okay, I am the one that is doing this. Just so that when you do Git push, the header information will carry your Git global username and config so that anybody checking the Git references will know that it is your work. Not that they will not know it's your work. You understand? It will still show it was you, user. But this is like, what do you call it? Beautifying or making it pretty or whatever it's supposed to stand for. So this basically just make sure that when you do, because this is global, when you do anything in Git, it carries your information, your header information. Yeah. So that is Git config, and then at the global, you set your Git, and then you could use, there is another thing in Git that I don't know how to show you, but I think we'll get to that later. And yeah, we'll get to that later. So what else should we do? What else can we do within this hour? Because I think I'll do Git push, Git pull. Can someone clone this repository, this Ford repository, and make a modification to it? Can someone do it on this call and make a modification to this repository? Hello?
I'm trying to do that.
Okay. You can. So the command is git clone. If you want to clone the repository, you do git clone. To clone the repository is public.
You may cloning from the command prompt.
What do you say?
You mean cloning it from the command line?
Yeah, cloning it from the command line. Yes.
We have to clone the Ford knot, right?
Yeah, the Ford knot. Yes, you have to clone the Ford knot.
Okay. So once we've cloned it, what should we do with that?
You can create a file. You understand? Create a file, put anything on the file, then push it. So I want you to follow the approach I just did. Create a file, add it, commit it, then push it.
Okay.
So you can use it you can do it for your window if you don't want to do it from the command line, just like I did. You don't have to do it from the command line. You can do it from window. It's not compulsory to do it from the command line. when you do, as you are doing it, let me know. As you are making the changes, let me know. I'm pushing.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be complex. It can be as simple as possible. So nothing complex, just, and if you do not remember the command, just tell me, I will tell you the command. Okay, anybody?
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to make a comment. So it's asking for like, I don't know, should I like run email? I mean, that part where you say global, so I'm trying to put that.
Oh, okay.
That
So
now.
the command, yeah. So don't worry, I'll still set up this thing. So you need to do that like git config global user.name and then git config global user.email.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to type out now. So the email will be our GitHub email, right?
It doesn't really matter actually. They are just, as I said, prettifying, not that is. So just make sure it's not, I mean, something that is, I mean, when you are doing it in a professional garden, not, if you are doing a professional garden, make sure it's information people can understand. That's just it.
Okay.
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 So, okay. Any other person working on this? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. How is it going? All right, so I want to use it to show something. That's why I said you guys should do something about it. So let me just I will come back to this question while we are waiting. Let's move forward.
Okay.
If you need something, you understand, just let me know.
Look, I think for me, I was trying to push to that repo, so I'm having something like authentication field, stuff like that.
Why it's an HTTP rep? It's a public repository. You don't need authentication to push to it.
It's saying authentication field, so I don't know.
1 minute, let me check settings.
I don't know why I'm doing that.
Yeah, just let me check settings, wikis, issues, social things, and sponsorship. No, yeah, collaborators. That's going to be too much work. Okay, you know what? Maybe don't worry. We will come back to this next week again. The same problem because not today. Because actually I need to move on. Let's do something. Then we'll come back to this next week. So I want to modify this. I want to teach you guys another command. Then we'll work over this command again next week. Okay, now I just modify an existing file that we have already committed. And if you check, if you say, let's say, nano src node.js, this attack, oh yeah, I didn't, yeah, okay. So it doesn't have any content before attaching a second line, new line. So let's just call it second new line. Let's see. All right, so now this file doesn't have any content in it. Let's pick a file that has content in it. Let's do doc.ts. Now, if I do git log, this is what it shows. If I do git diff, so this is what we use to check that in Git. Remember, I talked about Git being a version control system. So Git generally holds the information of every. So immediately you add a file to Git, it tracks every single information, every single addition you add to that file. It tracks it in its memory. Now I just modified 2 files, and Git is telling me, and I'm checking, okay, what did I do to each file before I commit it? Now, I won't advise you should do this manually, because especially if you are working in a very big project, you understand, you should leverage tools like, I don't know, Git Lens or something to do this. But for now, I'm just teaching you the concept of the diff, another command in Git for checking what is the difference between the content of 2 files. Now, if you look at this file here, the first file, it's telling us that A starter.tsc, B starter.tsc. So we remove A, we add B, we add this new line. This is attaching a second line. We add it to this file. And yeah, it's telling us that we do not have any previous file, and we created a new file. Now I'm going to walk you guys through this process again of git push. I would have liked to do a git pull, but git pull is just git pull. Then we will do a bigger test later on next week. So now there's a git status. We add new file, and then git add. We add every new file we made modification to manually to the Git. Now I like to do my Git operation like this. Some people like to just use this command, git commit -a -m, and then just apply the message. I don't like doing this because then you can actually take a lot of files that you should not take into your Git repository. into your Git repository, especially if you are doing project like Java, for example, and you have binaries that you should not push to your Git repository, then you push it into your Git repository. So I always do my operation like this, and so that it simplify the whole process. Git now I've added this guy. If I go Git status, you see the file has been added to Git. Then I can roll back by using Git restore to add a stage to unstage the file, but I think I've shown that before. So then I can just do Git push without specifying origin main, origin something, because we're already in origin main, right? Yeah, we're already in origin main, so I can just Git push, and then this is going to push it. Oh, sorry, I didn't commit. So Git commit, -m, then give it any message, testing, commit. And then now we can do Git push, and this is going to push it into the Git repository. And I see another point I want us to walk through, like conflicts and all those stuff, but we won't be able to do them today. I'm much more focused on the basic concept today of Git. Then later, next week, we go into Git operation itself. Before next week, I have a website I share with you. I mean, a GitHub account page. I shared this with you. I don't know if everybody see this. Do you see this? Do you have this?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is, I'm going to work on this, and during the week, I'm going to send you guys a message to clone it. I'm going to turn it into a template, and I'll send you guys a message for you to use that template to create your own. Because inside there, I have what we call a test workflow that we are going to work with for testing. Okay? And as you guys are working, I'll be getting feedback of, okay, if you do this or if you do not do this. Okay? But for now, this is going to be like this for now. And sometime in the week, I'm going to send you guys a message that you guys should clone it and then follow the instructions that is going to be inside instructions here. So I already set up some instructions. I'm still working on it, and I will send you a message for you to follow the instructions that is here, and then we will talk next week Sunday again. So is it clear a little bit about some of the basic of Gits that I have explained? Hello? Hello?
Yes, but hello, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. My questions on this cloning thing is that to clone like this GitHub web now,
Yeah.
I'm seeing that one can clone one can clone from the Fox locality. That means Git clone, then the GitHub, then my username, and then the project you created to have access. Because I was hearing the other fellow was saying that he does not have access to the something, and you were saying that it is publicly open. I
Yeah, it's
feel
a
you should
public
just
repository.
yes,
It
I
doesn't
feel you
even
should
need to
just
supply his credential to clone it. Except
okay.
if you use clone SSH by mistake, well, I think it should not even work. So it's a public repository. Let me show you. Do I have a test bed that doesn't have? Okay, let me just show you what I mean by it's a public repository. Let's pick. I don't have Git, it will not go, it will complain. But let's just pick an example. One of my server, this has Git, this has Git, and it's configured. So let me pick my log server here, and then let me show you what I meant. Okay, so Git, I have Git, yeah, I have Git clone. See? That's all. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, the way
sorry.
you've cloned it now. So if you make any update, it will add. Is it that it will add to your own, or to it will add to the original repo, or the one that you clone? Because
if I make any modification on local now, you understand, it's a clone.
Yes.
It's still mapped to that repository, to the public repository. It's still mapped to it. So let's say I don't think it will work because I will need another credential to be able to push. Let's say I'm creating a file called durum.conf, and then git add durum, and that is going to work. Git commit -m durum, and then so it's for me to do this. So git config and then global user.name, and then user.email, okay, so git push this. So you need to supply username and password. You understand? Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So you need to supply username and password. My username and password won't work because of 2FA. It's going to break, except I have a path. I have a path somewhere. Okay, let me just look for my GitHub path. Just 1 minute. I think I have a path somewhere. Where do I have a path? Let's see. Card, not card. Notes. I look for GitHub. I think GitHub. Okay. Let's copy it. So let me supply my name and then supply my path. See? That is if you do not have your username and password configured on your system. So now I just added durum, and if you come here, it will show that you now have durum 1 minute ago. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So what you need to do, because I don't have a username, so for you to actually push to Git, whether it is public or it's not public, you still need a username and password to do it. Now, you have to configure it. I might know why it may not be working for you guys, because I'm using a path. I'm actually not using my GitHub password. I'm using a personal access token. And that's maybe why it works for me and it didn't work for you guys. This, we are going to work on it next week. Actually, I'm going to show you how to configure your GitHub to use SSH instead of using HTTP. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
It's okay?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, so for now, let's just stop here, because I know why it might not be working for you guys now. Might be because of that password. I'm using a personal access token. I'm not using a password. That may make me why it's working for me and not working for you guys. So, but next week, I'm going to work you guys to how to configure your SSH key for so that instead of supplying your username and password, if you have your SSH configured on your GitHub account, you just push, it will automatically push. Do you understand? It won't be asking you for username, password. Okay? So that is it for today. As I said, I will message you guys next week about this, and then we will really have a lot of things to talk more about next week. Actually, we will have a lot of things to talk more on next week than just this introduction. Except there is one requirement for this session. That requirement is your laptop. It is very, very important. This is operation. This requires you to have your hand dirty a little bit. So that means you need to be able to log into your laptop, configure stuff in your laptop. So, because if you don't have your laptop and I'm just talking, then I'm just talking. Okay? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear.
sir.
So because it's very important that as I'm doing it, you are doing it. For people that have Windows, do not have access to a MacBook, the instruction for WSL I sent, please try and follow it. Okay? And so that by next week you have WSL on your system and you have Git, probably Git running on it as well. So that we won't do too much conversation next week. Okay?
Yeah. Hello.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, I wanted to say something. So, from my own observation over time, with the use of clone, so I believe that the first time you want to push, it will definitely authenticate you. I don't think it's because of any public or private thing. So if it is your first time after clone that you are pushing an update, it means that it is going to ask for your user password. It is, I think, after that, after subsequent push, then you can really push for HTTPS, right? So I think that person having authentication issues should try again and make sure you are entering your correct GitHub username and password. Make sure it's correct. If it is correct, then you should not have any problem with pushing. But of course, you can maybe when practicing during the week, you can ask more questions if you have done that and you are still blocked.
Okay. All right. So thanks you guys for today. During the week, I will message you guys and hopefully we have a more interactive session next week. So have a nice day.